YouTube, how you doing? Murph here, bringing you a product comparison video specifically on the Glorious wireless mouse line. This will not be a full in-depth product review video. I've done product reviews for all of these that you see here. If you're interested in those, I will put a link to all of my full reviews in the description down below. But my goal for this video is to help the people who have decided that they want one of the new Glorious Model O or D wireless gaming mice, but you're struggling with which one to get. Maybe you don't fully understand the similarities and differences between these. Maybe you're confused about these versus the older gen wired models. So we're going to talk about that and figure out which one of these you should pick up. Now I've got these separated out here. The Model O's are on the left, the D's are on the right. You should be able to see a clear size difference between these, but just in case it's not picking up on camera well, I've got the two largest ones inboard and the smaller ones on the outside. So this is the O minus, the O, the D, and the D minus. And as you can see, they all look very similar. Now with the older generation, the wired models, when the new Model O wireless was announced, there was a $30 price increase, and there were a few minor changes. The overall structure, shape, size didn't change, but obviously it did get their wireless technology. And there was also a new sensor that was put into the Model O wireless that provided a slight bump in certain specifications. So it was technically just a little bit of a better mouse. Also, despite the similarities in size and shape and weight and all of that, the build quality seemed to be a little bit better in the Model O wireless as well. Specifically in terms of a lot of people were having a little bit of issue with side wobble on the top two mouse buttons here, and that has been largely corrected in their wireless models. And it also seemed that specifically the side mouse buttons were just a little bit more crisp and tactile than the wired version. Not that I had a big issue with the wired version anyways. The side buttons were already a good bit better than most other gaming mice in this price range. Anybody who's owned a variety of gaming mouses know that those side buttons a lot of times lose that tactility that the mouse 1 and 2 buttons have. They can feel mushy, or there's just not a lot of feedback. The original wired Model O already felt better than most, but these feel very, very good. But it's a little bit of a different ball game with these four, because while there are subtle differences, the majority of what you see here is the same. They all feature very good build quality with no bending, creaking, flexing in any of the side panels or top or bottom plates. Little to no wobble between these mouse 1 and 2 buttons. Every button on all four of these feel very, very good, clicky, tactile, responsive. The scroll wheel is very nice, smooth, but it does have those individual steps that you can feel in between. The PTFE feet that they use on the bottom are very smooth and work well on a variety of surfaces. And if you want to increase the surface area of these, it also comes with a separate set of skates that take up most of the top and bottom here to provide additional glide if that's something that you're interested in. Beyond build quality, all four of these are the same price, $79.99. So you don't have to worry about picking one or the other based on price. And fortunately, the specifications are all the same as well. They all four feature the same BAMF sensor, which again, like I mentioned before, is a slight upgrade over their last generation sensor. It provides a no lag experience even in wireless mode, 400 IPS tracking speed up to 19,000 DPI, 50G acceleration, and all four of these feature up to 71 hours of battery life. So it doesn't matter if you go for the larger one or the smaller one, all four feature the same estimated wireless battery time. Now, what does make these different and what's gonna kind of determine which one that you pick is going to be size and shape. The D line is an ergonomic shape. Most of you are going to be familiar with that kind of design. It's designed to kind of sit into your hand and it feels good. I'm a fan of ergonomic mice shapes. It almost feels like an extension of your hand, very comfortable to hold. And frankly, Glorious makes some of the better and most comfortable ergonomic shaped mice in my opinion. And then the O line features an ambidextrous design, which means that it's symmetrical across the whole mouse. Feels good. It's what most people are accustomed to. It is a right hand ambidextrous design, because there are no side buttons on this right hand side, but a very good ambidextrous design. So that's going to be the main deciding factor, is which design you like best, and then what model is going to fit your hand and feel most comfortable while you're gaming for long periods of time. Now, a lot of this is going to be personal preference. It's also going to depend on what kind of grip style you have. Typically, palm grip users find ambidextrous designs a little bit more comfortable, whereas a claw or a hybrid grip player will find an ambidextrous design to be a little bit more comfortable, but that's not really a blanket statement. It doesn't matter. You can use any type of grip style with either of these designs, and it's likely to feel really comfortable for you. It really just depends which design you like best. So there's two main questions you have to ask yourself, and I would do this in this particular order. The first question is, which mouse shape do you want, ambidextrous or ergonomic? And then once you have made that decision, you've got to figure out what size you want. So let's say you've decided that you want the Model O or the Model O wireless. I would recommend the O minus for anyone with a small to medium size hand, and I would recommend the full size O to anyone with a medium to large size hand. I'll throw the size difference between these two on the top left corner of the screen, just to kind of give you an idea of the size difference. I think for most people, especially older teenagers and adults, you're gonna find the full size O is the best size for you. If you're younger, or if you're buying this for maybe a smaller kid, I know Christmas is right around the corner. If you're buying these for a gift for a smaller kid, younger teenager, something like that, the O minus is probably going to be the way to go. And my recommendation mostly is going to be the same for the D, with a slight caveat. I would still recommend the D minus for anyone with small to medium sized hands, but I would say if you have a medium sized hand, an average adult male, adult female hand size, I would still probably pick the D minus. That's just my opinion. The full size D wireless does fit comfortably in my hand. Just for reference, from the bottom of my palm to the tip of my middle finger is just over 7 inches long. And if I were buying one of each of these models, one ambidextrous, one ergonomic, me personally, just for reference, I would actually go with a full size Model O if that's what I was getting. I find the O minus to be just a little bit too small, just a little bit undersized for my liking. I would get the full size O, but I would actually get the D minus over the D if I was getting an ergonomic shape. It's just a little bit more comfortable for me. It's a little bit easier to hit those side buttons, and kind of my hybrid grip style just plays a little bit better with the smaller version of the D, but the full size Model O wireless. The other thing I'll mention to you is the size difference between the O versus the O minus is pretty substantial. You can probably clearly see the size difference in this video, but also when you're holding it, the size difference between the two feels really different. Whereas the size difference between the D and the D minus is not nearly as significant in my opinion. It almost feels like it's the same mouse going from one to the other. I do feel like I hit the buttons, especially those side buttons, but even mouse 1 and 2, I feel like I have a little bit better access with the smaller one. But the size difference between the two is not nearly as noticeable or significant as the size difference between these two. So that is something to keep in mind. Ultimately, all four of these are great. For what you're paying, it's really hard to beat. When it comes down to everything from build quality to specifications to the overall look and aesthetic of these gaming mice, for $80, you're gonna be doing really well getting any of these four. Again, just ask yourself what shape you want, and then once you know what shape you want, then determine the size. So with that being said, that wraps up the video. I hope you guys found this useful. If you've been looking at one of these four and having trouble deciding which one to get, I hope this helps you out at least a little bit. Let me know in the comments what you think of these, and also let me know in the comments if you have one of these four and you happen to know your hand size. Go ahead and let me know which one you went with, and if you think you made a good decision or if you wish you would have picked a different size. I'm genuinely curious what everybody thinks of the different sizes of these, and also it could be really useful for people watching this video if they're able to measure their hand size to kind of see what people with similar hand sizes are using, and if they wish they would have gone with the smaller version or the larger version, or if they're happy with what they picked. That could be really useful information to know. And also, if you want to see any other content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you can be notified of when I post new content, and YouTube will catch you later.